Well folks, welcome to the latest video. Well, we're going to try and repair this cork handle. We have done one of these videos before, but it was made at a time when I wasn't very good at making videos. It was a bit crude. What we need to do is discover what extent the damage is underneath the cork here and try and keep as much of the cork as possible. Normally you would just replace a handle like this, but I need to show in the video how to repair one, so we're going to go and try and repair it. Okay, so this is our handle being cut away. Don't see any further wormholes on it. This area here, this is where the wooden stop is attached to the cane, so that's not a wormhole. Okay, so we've stripped away the insect damaged areas from here, and you can see there's some solid bits left. What I'm probably going to do is straighten these up so they're nice square blocky sections, and then we'll use a bit of round cork to put back on it. In these days of recycling, you should never throw anything away. And these are old corky bits from an old fishing rod handle that just happened to come away because they weren't glued on very well. It's quite an old handle as well. It was probably 1910 or something like that. So they're a good match too. Not bad, not bad. So we're going to try and use these now to make up this handle, and that means trimming the cork. To trim cork, you need a very sharp blade, so you need a new Stanley blade to do that. Okay, so here we are. Essentially this has been scarified or scraped with the side of a Stanley blade just to clean up all the debris from the surface. And then we've carefully cut a piece of this cork so that it fits into the slot there. Of course it's going to have to be sanded down. I mean, life isn't that perfect. And then we've cut another piece of cork which is going to fit into that. And we'll glue those first, and then while they're gluing we'll work on some of the ones that are above it. Okay, so we're now at the stage where we've done that and we've wrapped it with tape in order to keep it on. So we're now going to get some bits of cork to go into this little area here. So there's our handle all taped up. The tape compresses the cork onto the handle, and when the glue dries it should all be in place. So I'm going to leave that to dry overnight now, and we'll come back tomorrow and take another look at it. So here we are the next day, peeling back the tape. Now the fact that glue's still white, it has set, but the tape's been over it, and because the tape's been over it, the air's not getting to it. The air's not getting to it, and it's not curing 100% properly, which is pretty much expected. We knew that would sort of happen, so this is now going to be left to dry in the sun. We need to start preparing this for these other little areas to be filled. So this is what our rod looks like just now. Take a very, very sharp Stanley blade and shave the cork back until it comes up to this sort of level like this. And then use a sanding block or sandpaper to sand these nearly level. You need to cut them just a little bit proud of the surface because we're not quite finished yet. So what we're going to do next is make some cork filler. And the cork filler is to fill in all the small little holes and cracks, which we haven't done with the blocking. The blocking stage is now done. We will now proceed to do the cork filler stage. Okay, so the cork filler is manufactured. So first we take one of these. This is a shaping file. It's for shaping soft materials. Sometimes called a rasping file. It's a kind of a wood file, I guess. You don't really normally get files for wood, but it's kind of a wood file. So get an old fishing rod handle or an old cork or something like that, and essentially just go at it with a rasping file until you've got a pile of cork. And if you catch it in a container like that, and then what you do is you put the cork onto a bit of mesh like this. So you get a big pile of cork chips like so. So now we've got our cork. We then put the cork onto a piece of mesh like so. You get the general idea that you basically get some fine cork there on the surface. Fine cork is what you're going to use to fill in the small crack on the fishing rod surface. This coarse cork here can be used for coarse filler. Okay, so the next step is to take something like a spatula like this, and then some PVA. And this is waterproof PVA. You probably can get there with the other stuff actually, but put a big gloop of that in here. Now what you want to do is just add the cork, and the way you want the cork to be, so the cork is all covered in glue, but there's no excess glue. Excess glue causes a problem, so remember that. Okay, so your mix should look something like this. And I'm going to use this spatula. This is a little difficult because the fishing rod's quite long. To get the cork into these little holes. And I'm just going to do a quick demo of one little area, and then I'll show you when it's finished. Because it's quite difficult to do on camera. So essentially you want to be packing it in with the spatula until it stands proud of the surface. So this is kind of how it should look when it's been pasted on. Okay, so once your rod's been gone over with a filler, it will look something like this. This is the reason why you don't put too much glue in the filler, because it shrinks, and when it shrinks you need to be able to chip away at it fairly easily and leave mostly cork. If you have too much glue, it provides like a hard surface which withstands sanding, so the cork around it gets sanded down and the cork you've filled doesn't, and you end up with a funny shape on your handle. So you got to be careful not to put too much glue on it, just enough to cover all the cork pieces, and then that's it really. And when that dries, that will then get trimmed again with a Stanley blade. But you need a very sharp blade, like a new blade, and when that's done, we'll be ready to sand it all off carefully. Well, and this is what it looks like in the morning when all the glue's been dry. And so the next step with this is to use a flat Stanley blade to just shave these pieces off like this. I'll go through it and I'll maybe show you one of them. It's difficult to show on camera because you need to watch very carefully that you don't remove the original rod handle. So I'll show you that when it's done. This is what the handle looks like now that it's effectively been trimmed. So you trim it by holding the cork flush with the surface and sliding it across the areas that have been filled in order to get close to the surface, not at the surface, close to the surface. If there's any hard bits of glue, then you should remove those too, because that gets in the way of the sanding properly. So what I'm going to do next is use a foam sanding block, of which you're all probably familiar with from B&Q and places like that, just to sand this over. Okay, so just a note about sanding. As you sand the handle, sand it up and down rather than across, and slowly turn as you sand. If you don't do that, you can end up with flat spots, which doesn't look particularly good. Also, as you turn the handle round, let's just see if I can find one. Just here, look, for example, and maybe here, you can see slightly darker areas. This is essentially where there's hardened glue on the surface, and it's usually pretty thin. So where you can, you just very gently remove those with the edge of the Stanley blade and sand it over. Other areas that stand out, such as these here, this is probably a glue line, but these ones here, and there's one there for example that stands out. These are harder areas of the cork, and you can't really get rid of that. You can trim it if it's too proud, but you can't really get rid of that. So the handle's now been sanded down with this sanding block here. You can see the patch just there. It hasn't completely disappeared, but it is blended in, and certainly from a distance it's quite difficult to see where it is. But that's now another usable handle again. Remember, this is not a restoration, this is just a repair, so that you can use your fishing rod again effectively. And it works really well, this method. This handle will now be waxed over just to protect it from the water and what have you, and it is now pretty well a finished handle. So I hope you enjoyed the video, folks, and that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks very much for watching.